Okay, we're back. I messed with the audio settings a little bit to hopefully get rid of some of that tinniness. And it's like I don't have to like holler at the mic to get stuff across. So anyway, assuming that it'll work out fine, this is going to be a longer session. I almost forgot to have my phone as a way to keep track of time. Thank you for the guy who left a comment on I think it was episode 13. I think. I appreciate it. Not to get too personal, not to weird you out. But thanks. So yeah, we're back here with One Button Man. It's been a minute. I got some stuff done on my other channel, the Logic Mysticism channel. Specifically, I got a cool video, or at least I think it's a cool video, I'm a little biased, about the dangling implication substitution in Principia Mathematica Volume 1, which, if that sounds interesting, you should go check it out. But like I said, we're back here. Now, I'll try and keep my audio settings where they're at. Whenever this recording session is done, I'll see how it sounds, right? See if there's any weirdness. I hope there isn't, but I really felt like there's kind of almost a ham radio. I'm hollering at you in the post-apocalypse across the map. You gotta come find me in a bunker, only to find a bunch of skeletons sitting around a bonfire and a mirelurk comes out of a nearby pond. If you get that Fallout reference, good on you. I feel like that. Like I'm on a shortwave ham radio hollering at you. Make this a little bit easier to listen to with my mic and my setup. So there's like some music going on. I'm not sure how like loud that is. We can turn this up a little bit, I think. On my end, that's very loud now. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. The music in this game ain't bad. It's just kind of got like a... How to put it, like a... Well, I can barely hear the... Wow. Yeah, the audio balancing on that, speaking of audio, that's kind of... Here, I'll just put this back down, I guess. Wow.
Come see what's left of my wares.
Yeah, you can like barely hear her. I don't know if you heard that. Let's come see what's left of my wares. I can barely hear her, even with the little dial on my headset turned all the way up. I can barely hear her on. Wow. I was gonna say that the music in this game kind of has more of a functional vibe, if that makes sense. Required physique. Required player level 50, goodness. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be using that. Perdition, huh? Well, we don't have Oathkeeper and we don't do acid damage, so I guess I'll get rid of those. I haven't really changed my mind on the whole saving up rares. 18 plus 18% chaos resistance, we're gonna need that. Like, real soon we're gonna need that, actually. Minus 22 damage per second, huh? That's not bad for a crossbow. Assault Carbine, huh? 135 poison damage over 38% physical converted to acid. Yeah, that's not good for our guy. Look at that. Negative 1859. Wow. Good year. Sorry, that was stupid. Acquired player level 46. I guess we'll dump this in here. like I said before, I'm kind of looking for plus 15% to all damage. Wow, that's kind of gnarly. But yeah, we're looking for chaos resistance, like right here. We're really looking for that. Lightning and poison and acid resistance. You know, I'm willing to trade that out. I'll keep that other belt because that's pretty good. But yeah, I'm willing to trade that out. I don't know why I'm using the right thumbstick. Oh, what I was saying earlier is that the music in this game is mostly like functional, which by that I mean it's not. To me, it gives off a vibe of, oh well, it's not like bad, but it's not something you would go, yeah, man, I got. It's not like the freaking Warhammer 40k Mechanicus soundtrack, which is just so dope. Like, oh my goodness. That soundtrack is so... I actually have that soundtrack. That soundtrack is so cool. Oh, right. We haven't gone out that way yet. I'm trying to think. It's been a minute. It's been like a week and a half since I recorded the... Longer than that, I think, since I recorded the last session. I had a couple days free, so I, like, recorded 2 sessions and then like a third one, that short one, like a couple days later, and this is now like a week or so after that, I think. I don't know, it's hard to keep track of time for me lately because of what I've had going on in my life, from like weird legal stuff, like I said in the last one, to weirder stuff, like stuff with my ex account, which is kind of bad. I mean, the people at X seem to be real good at that, like, at least whenever you can get a hold of them, they seem to fix stuff quickly. I was finally let back into it after 2 weeks, but, like, you know, almost immediately, but they didn't get back to me and tell me, like, hey, we looked at your account, we fixed it. It was more like they just kind of went and did it, sort of, like they let me back in. And then once I'm back in, the problem that I did the thing that got me locked out in the first place, which was, so basically it's telling me that I have to add a phone number to my account, but I have a phone number on my account. So I followed the advice of Grok, and I deleted the phone number off of my account, then re-added it, and then it locked me out saying that I was suspicious. So if you get the same problem, don't do that. And then I followed the other advice about, like, removing my cookies, or, like, my cache or whatever. You know, like, clearing your cache. And it's like, okay, and then I do that, and it didn't help. So I'm just kind of at the mercy of the X support team, and I hope they get it fixed, you know. I kind of like, for all the stuff that Twitter gets, I kind of like it for what I use it for, which is mainly, like, my stuff relating to, because I don't like politics, and I don't like, sports, which kind of gets rid of most of what that platform's about. So I just get a lot of cool stuff about little indie games and stuff, which is really cool. Like, my feed is just indie games and indie game related stuff, which is perfect. So for me, I actually really like the platform, and I like commenting on stuff, like going, oh wow, that's cool. And like, I'll basically just do this. Like, I'll find something cool, and then I'll just type like that'll just be what I basically, that's all I use that platform for, other than which to me makes it perfect. I like it a lot. It's like almost a news thing for indie games, right? But yeah, that's all I do is just post my stuff relating to my logic stuff, like Principia and my book, The Philosopher's Map, and then I just, like, basically go, wow, that's cool, colon, lowercase o. Which, I mean, honestly, if more people used it for that, we'd probably have a lot better, you know, there'd be a lot less anger and tumult around, right? There are some really cool indie game projects that I've seen on there, though, that I would not have seen otherwise. A lot, and I'm really happy to see this. Like, there's a lot. I know I'm not talking about the game right now, but, you know, we're... oh, right, I have to speak to Olgrim. Right. I was wondering why... sorry, my brain was, like, on autopilot on a different track. Like, basically, oh, I must not have completed this stuff because I'm not able to go out the gate. It's like, no, we're just at the part where you have to choose between two factions. So, right, I need to actually try and go and kill Zarthuzalan at Old Arkovia. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just choose the Necromancers this time, and then the next time we go through with a different character, I'll pick the Cult of Kaiman. Because that's basically what's going to happen here. So the Kaimon cult and the Necromancers hate each other. And you have to pick between one of them. That's what's going on here. So let's talk to Olgrim.
That's the person I'm looking for. The others may disagree with me on this, but there's something I need you to do.
What is it?
There are two other groups of survivors in the region that we are aware of, but Solar and Creed do not consider them to be of strategic value. Frankly, I disagree. They may consist largely of fanatics, but fanatics aimed in the right direction can be a powerful force.
Hey, you ain't kidding.
Ask representatives from both the Order of Death's Vigil and Kaiman's Chosen to visit here and speak to us. There is some obvious animosity between the two, but perhaps we can leverage that against them. I would like you to be our representative. Speak to both of them. Learn all that you can and decide which of the two groups would prove to be of superior strategic value. I just don't see them working together, I'm afraid.
Why won't you talk to them? Which is a fair question. Olgrim is, I mean, so let's consider for a fact that he's the first blade of the Emperor, and what we can learn about him in the game. And because there's a lot of stuff about the First Blade, right? Like this guy is like a mythical guy in the lore of, you know, like people tell stories about this guy. And one thing that you can kind of gather is that he's a spy. I mean, what is an assassin? A good assassin isn't just a really... And I hate to point at Assassin's Creed, because that only kind of half gets at it. You know, a good assassin, forget Assassin's Creed, right? Think Hitman, right? Agent 47. A good assassin isn't just a really talented murderer. They're also a really good spy, right? A good infiltrator, a schmoozer, someone who can, like, pretend to be, you know, someone that they're not, and a disguise guy and all that. So it would make it like a charismatic, essentially. So it makes sense to ask him why he wouldn't talk to them, because he would kind of have the skills that would lend to doing that. I mean, it's basically like a professional. Imagine if a doctor asked a guy who just walked in from the zombie apocalypse, and this guy who's really good at, like, killing zombies, right? The surgeon goes, "Hey, do you mind consulting with, you know, these two nurses in this other room about a patient?" It's like, well, why don't you do it?
As much as I'd love to play politics again, Creed demands my attention at the war table. I'm asking you to do this because I trust your judgment.
Which is kind of a big deal. So what can you tell me about the two groups?
Setting their fanatical beliefs aside, both groups have valuable resources at their disposal. Kaiman's Chosen may be religious zealots, but they are surprisingly well trained and should make formidable allies in battle. The Order of Death's Vigil, their powers over death send chills down my spine. But they are powerful mages and used to facing the world's terrors. I won't lie to you, it's not an easy decision.
I will speak to the emissaries. And we get a modest amount of XP for that. So the Kaiman people are, I mean, look, the thing is that due to the Zarthuzalan thing, you're almost certainly going to have, like Zarthuzalan and the stuff that you do in Old Arcovia, you're almost certainly going to already have an in with the Necromancers. So, I mean, me personally, I always pick the Necromancers for that alone, just because it's like, well, I'm already working with them, and I don't want to maybe mess up the quest, because I often do leave Descent into Torment until way later in the game. So I'm often like, okay, well, all things being equal, like, I might as well go with them. Let's at least hear out the Kaiman people.
I have come to represent Kaiman's Chosen, as the one you call Ulgrim has requested.
What can you tell me about Kaiman's Chosen? We are the Chosen of Father Kaiman, blessed prophet of Empyrean, guardian of the divine flame and savior of humanity. What do you offer the Black Legion? We are well trained and well armed. Our men and women serve Cairn proudly and will die for her if need be. Our faith steels us against the wicked powers of the Ethereal and the Chthonian. With the Chosen of the Legion's side, our forces will be unstoppable. Who is Father Kaiman? Father Kaiman is our spiritual leader. He is blessed by Empyrean the Lightbringer, first among the gods. By his word we will cleanse Cairn of the impure and the corrupt, starting with the abhorrent order of Death's Vigil and ending with the eradication of the Ethereals and the Chthonians. Who is Empyrean? Now I'll show him on the star chart in a minute after we're done with this. Empyrean the Lightbringer is first among the gods. Under his just rule, the world experienced order and balance, free of the corruption of the void and the aether. However, the other gods grew jealous of Empyrean's power, and they imprisoned him deep within the earth, locked away for centuries, perhaps millennia. But Father Kaiman has found the old god's prison. He communes with the Lightbringer, delivering the Divine One's word unto his chosen. What can you tell me about the Order of Death's Vigil? They are abominations that twist the divine threads of life to their will as if they were playthings. The Order is a plague upon this world, much like the Ethereals and the Chthonians. In order for Cairn to heal, they must be purged. What sort of equipment do you offer? We are well equipped to deal with the fiends infesting our world. There is something there to suit most fighting styles, but warriors who wage battle with physical, fire, and lightning fit right in. I'll need some time to think this through. So if we actually look here at the devotion screen, all the way at the top, we have Korvac. Yeah, okay. This is Empyrean. So, Light of Empyrean. This constellation. Empyrean, the greatest among the gods, is the light of the world and protector of all of Cairn. It is by his mercy and example that the sun greets mankind each day. So, I mean, you get plus 80% fire, plus 80% physical, some good resistances, plus 100% physical damage. Now, if you look, we would actually like that, but if you look, there's a problem. The affinity requirement is 8 Order and 18 Primordial. We are probably not going to get that, and if we do get that, it'll probably be if we take, and I might, I'm not sure that he'll be fit for it, and I normally don't really go into Elite, and definitely not into Ultimate. But if I do take One Button Man on into Elite and Ultimate, we'll probably get there, because, I mean, I would like all of those. I mean, the 20% Aether and Chaos Resistance, the plus 15% Elemental Resistance, that's stupidly good. Just, like, also plus 3% maximum Aether and Chaos Resistance, that's really, really good. But obviously we have plans. We have plans for how to deal with enemies. And if I'm not mistaken, you could choose one in one difficulty and then the other in the other. So,
The one you call Ulgrim has asked to speak with the Order of Death's Vigil, so I have come before you.
Greetings, I am Haruv, and I represent the Order of Death's Vigil. We are eager to discuss an agreement, even if it has to be made amongst such questionable company. What can you tell me about the Order? We are seekers and preservers of knowledge, trained in the ancient art of necromancy by our Grand Master Oraburuk. We do not fear death, we embrace all that it teaches us, and through it, become more in tune with the world around us. What do you offer the Black Legion? We are experts in the arcane and masters of necromancy. Why send living men to die at the hands of the enemy, when we could send loyal undead servants to battle in our stead? We will combat the enemy and preserve valuable human lives in the process. What can you tell me about Ouroboros? Our master is eternal. He was there when the Arkovian Empire was young, and he was there when they fell to his curse. The Arkovians, much like the Erelon Empire, shattered by the Grim Dawn, had persecuted necromancy and those who would seek forbidden knowledge. They tortured our master, eager to learn his secret to immortality. In return, Ouroboros cursed them to eternal unlife. Since the fall of Arkovia, Ouroboros founded the Order of Death's Vigil to ensure that the pursuit of knowledge and life's mysteries would never again be threatened by the ignorant. Now that humanity stands at the brink of annihilation, it seems his teachings are more relevant than ever. We will return balance to the world as our master had decreed. Now, I only played Diablo 4, but I looked into the lore of stuff like necromancers in Diablo, and basically the necromancers in Diablo and the necromancers in Grim Dawn are kind of the same, like alignment, you know, like D&D alignment, like lawful, whatever, like lawful, chaotic, good, evil, neutral. Like, they're sort of lawful, neutral kind of group where normally necromancers are evil, duh, but in Diablo and in this, they kind of are more people of what you'd call balance. Like, they care more about the idea of, you know, things being normal, right? Like, not green fire all over the place and hideous flesh beasts rendering everything around them into, you know, bloody puddles. Anyway, what is necromancy? What a stupid question. Necromancy is the study of death and the forces of life that bind us to that final fate. To us, death is a mystery that must be studied, not some esoteric topic worthy of fear. What can you tell me about Kaiman's Chosen? They are fanatics obsessed with an ancient faith, worshipping a non-existent god known as Empyrean. Anyone that stands against their tenets is a heretic and worthy only of extermination. In that they are no better than the Empire, which had persecuted the Order for generations. What sort of equipment do you offer? You should find that our equipment can handle many situations, but the users of cold, vitality, and minions will find our arsenal to be of great use. I'll need some time to think this through. Now, by all accounts, we should, by what our guy uses, pick the Kaiman's Chosen. But again, we'll go with the necromancers.
Has asked to speak with the Order of Death's Vigil.
I've made my decision. The Black Legion will work with you. Splendid. I shall make the arrangements immediately. In the meantime, I would ask that you seek out our hidden sanctum to the north. We have claimed a small crypt hidden in the mountains just west of Sorrow's Bastion. To get there, you must take the road north through the fallow fields. When you've reached the old fort ruins, you are close to our home. Once inside, see Master Voru. He will wish to speak with our new ally. I will seek out your sanctum. Okay. Now that's that. And now, if I remember right, we can exit through here. So this is leading on into the Blood Grove. Through the fallow fields, as they said. This is the part of the game where we're going to see... This is the part of the game where we're going to see the Cult of Cthulhu become much more relevant, and the Ethereals for a little while are going to sort of fade into the background. Which means that we're going to be dealing with Chaos, rather than Aether, as a resistance to be watchful. Now, the interesting thing about the Cult of Kaiman is that, it's Kaimon, I think, but I just called him Kaiman because southern accent. But the thing about the Cult of Kaiman that's interesting is that, okay, there's a couple of things that you can put together in the realm of Grim Dawn. So notice how this has got primordial. Let's look at the description. Primordial beings embody the powers of creation, life, death, and reality itself. Right? Now, reminder that all of these, like, actual gods and greater entities do not light up, regardless of what's chosen, because they sort of transcend all of that. Like, they transcend the notion of, like, the stuff that's beneath them, right? So, the dying god, which, in an age preceding the creation of the mortal planes, an elder god was betrayed by his children, his body torn apart and drained of blood so that they could use its power to breathe life into their own creations. His remains were cast out of creation into a void, but, incapable of death, the god lingered on in the darkness, doomed to an eternity of pain and madness, feeling the suffering and death of all mortal things that were given life from his blood. His name forgotten by time, the dying god is known only as Chthon, he who dwells below creation. So, like, by the way, that's him. You know the meme, I'm him? That's him. He's him. That's Chthon, right? So, it's not really a spoiler whenever you could view that at any time. And sorry, yeah, my ear's getting itchy. It's not really a spoiler whenever you could view that at any time in the star chart for the devotion screen. But notice, he's unable to die because he is a god, right? In the realm of Grim Dawn. Now, Empyrean, the greatest among the gods, is the light of the world and protector of all of Cairn, yada yada. Okay? Well, Ascendant. The Ascendant beings have risen to godlike status through immense feats or reverence from their lessers. Right? So the thing is that, so this is Menhir, god of the earth, Empyrean, Ishtak, the spring maiden. Then you have Korvac. The less said about him right now, the better. And then you have the Tree of Life. Legends say that when the world was first born from the darkness of the void, a single tree was planted, which would come to bear all the fruit and animals of the world. Right? But you've also got Vyre, or Vera, the stone matron, Aeon's hourglass, Ugal, Ulzuin. Like, you have the representatives of the gods, and godlike entities that are, you know, you can tell because they're not, like I said, you can flicker through this and they don't light up. So the Blind Sage, Ratosh the Veil Warden, Atak-Seru the Mirage, Ultos, Shepherd of Storms. So you get the idea, right? Like, the entities here that don't light up. So all of these things, I guess you could say, are to some extent or another celestial, right? But the actual, no kidding, deific status entities don't light up whenever you go over them with this. That means the Empyrean. So that guy said, oh, Empyrean is a god that doesn't exist. It's like, well, he clearly exists. Because if ascendant beings can rise to godlike status through immense feats or reverence, right? And I think one notable... See, like, right here, Mogdrogan. A titan created during the War of the Gods, Mogdrogan has become the god of beasts, right? Mogdrogan has become the god of beasts, right? You get that? Now, not to be too spoilery, but at one point, there's a discussion about how gods work in the realm of Grim Dawn. And all I really am getting at is that Empyrean actually exists, whatever. The Forgotten Gods campaign kind of goes into who Empyrean is and what's happened to him. But the gist is like, he did actually exist. If he didn't, he wouldn't have the stars up there. I mean, even Chthon does, right? So, it's that, or Ugal even. Like, Ugal has a place up there, which is kind of nutty, right? I'm just saying that for lore purposes to explain kind of what's going on with that. That the necromancers aren't wrong in that, you know, the people, they're not wrong in the sense that the people who revere Kaiman don't like them. They're definitely not wrong about that. But they are wrong in the sense that, like, to say that Empyrean didn't exist is silly whenever, you know, Ugal, Ultos, Mogdrogan, all of those, Chthon, whenever all of those have a place in the Celestial Vault. Like, it's stupid to say that Empyrean who has a marker in that celestial vault doesn't exist. It's like, nah. The guy did. But, yeah, I'm tempted to, like, say something more about, Empyrean and what's going on in the Forgotten Gods campaign that we'll get to. Because, again, I may not have played that much, but I like reading lore about games, especially games like this that have, like, a pretty in-depth, universe, like, fictional background universe. The gist is that, Empyrean was represented by the sun. Korvac, right? He's the Eldritch Son. Yeah, that's all I'm really going to say on that for now. When we eventually get to the Forgotten Gods campaign, I'm sure it'll be covered there. Like, we'll have a chance to talk about that. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of going over all this because, as before, we're just kind of in a spot in the game where we're going to be dealing with the same enemies for a good bit. The Cult of Cthulhu, their main shtick is that they have stuff that does hideous physical damage. Hideous amounts of chaos damage. And they typically attack not only in packs, but have things that can summon stuff. So, unlike the Ethereals, which do have some of that in common, the main difference is that the Ethereals kind of have a sort of... how to put it? If I had to, like, put a finger on it and say, here's the big difference between the two, is that the Ethereals attack more with, like... it's almost like the difference between GDI, so I'm referencing Command and Conquer, the Tiberium stuff. You know, like, it's almost the difference between GDI and Nod, right? Like, the forces of Cain from Nod, and the Michael Ironside, I think that's his name. I only remember the guy from Command and Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars, where you could play as aliens. That was the one I actually played. But it's like from the Command and Conquer, the Tiberium side of things, where you've got the Brotherhood of Nod versus the GDI. It's like that. I would say that in that comparison, I'm not saying that one is like tanky and expensive or none of that. I'm just saying that the difference is like subtle, kind of. That you're looking at a difference between a faction that has a more... you know, and I would actually, you know, at the people at Crate Studio, like Crate Entertainment, it would be stupidly based to get an RTS based on the realm of Grim Dawn. Like, to have a Grim Dawn based RTS where you can play as, like, the Black Legion or the Cthulhu Cult or the Ethereals. That would be super, super cool. I'm just saying, that would be really dope if they did that as, like, a spin-off. I'm not great at RTSs, by the way. I love RTSs, I'm just terrible at them. But yeah, that would be super base to have an like a Grim Dawn RTS. But if they were to make a Grim Dawn RTS, I would say that the difference would be that the Cult of Cthulhu has a better, like... they have a tankier mid section of their units. If that makes sense. Like, the end-game Cult of Cthulhu stuff is pretty gnarly, but really it's the mid-game stuff that really gets you, I guess, is how I'd put that. From what I remember. I mean, maybe I'll be shocked whenever we get into the last parts of Act 4 and we're really dealing with a bunch of like higher level Cthulhu stuff, but from what I remember, the main thing is like, take for instance the higher end Ethereal. Well, I guess I could get more into that whenever we get there. Well, hold on, let me look at this. You know, I'm tempted to actually just get spirit up or physique. Yeah, I want to get that all the way up. I forget what I had in mind prior, but yeah, I want to get that elemental damage up. Oh, and I remember I wanted to put 1 point into this. There we go. Now, another point into this. I basically want fighting form to be max level so I can just ditch, just throw into the grinder, the money grinder, also known as a NPC merchant, the stuff that levels that up, so we don't have to worry about it so much. I mean, if it's maxed out, functionally getting any more additional points into it while cool isn't, you know what I mean? It's not like imperative. Yeah, I guess I could talk about it more whenever we get to seeing the more advanced stuff. But like, as you can see here, the lower end of the Cult of Cthulhu has more mobility and is kind of tanky for how mobile they are. The higher end Cult of Cthulhu stuff is actually slower on average. Like, for each unit, it's typically slower in traversal than the higher end ethereal stuff, which is kind of the big difference I would spot between the two. So you're talking more of a difference between like which section of each roster is fast, how tanky, what they specialize in, that kind of stuff. They are unique. It's a bit of a subtle thing, and if I were to do like a comparison video, and maybe I would at some point, like comparing, if I were to like, I'm not saying I'll do this, but it is an interesting thought to maybe at some point do an examination of the different units of each faction and sort of do a, here's what each one has that's strong, you know, here's what each one does that's like less so. Now the annoying thing here is that if we go and talk to that, hold on. This guy says, I suggest you turn back, traveler. The Blood Grove is teeming with the Cult of Cthulhu, and worse. I've watched as a rift tore itself open before our eyes and sucked in several men. It vanished just as quickly. If you feel the air tingling with strange energy, back away immediately. What about the other scouts? Lost, taken by the cult. The lucky ones died during the fighting. The rest... What else is out there? Blackmane manticores are running wild now that there isn't anyone around to keep them away from the roads. Then there's the Order of Death's Vigil and the Kaimon's Chosen. Those two groups of fanatics have been at each other's throats for weeks. So the Grim Dawn has at least been going on for a couple weeks. I hope you weren't planning on heading north to Fort Icon. Darkvale has been completely overrun by the Bloodsworn. What was beyond the rift? The rifts seemed to be highly unstable. The only scouts that went through did not do so willingly, and we never saw them again. I think that's about it. Yeah, thanks for the info. Okay, so the annoying thing is that if we go over here, we get locked into sort of a series of quests for the chosen faction that we, if I remember right, we don't actually have to do. Right? Like, I'm just filling out the map.
That skill's not ready.
Yeah, we don't actually have to do any of these side quests. Like, they are just side quests, if I remember right. Talk to Master Varuk.
May the specter of death guard your path.
You must be the representative from the Black Legion. Come, come, there's much to be done. You wanted to speak with me? If you were to fight alongside the Order of Death's Vigil, then first you must prove yourself to us. Show us that you do not fear death, and we will show you its secrets. What must I do? One of our most prominent members, Malkadar, second only to the Keeper, was recently slain by a Chthonian ambush. His remains are now in the possession of the cultists somewhere out in the Blood Grove. We cannot lose a mind like Malkadar. The Keeper has called for the rite of resurrection to be performed on the revered necromancer. It falls to you, my aspiring initiate, to venture into the blood grove and recover Malkadar's remains. What is the rite of resurrection? It is a sacred ritual performed in dire times to bring back a fallen member of the Order. It is not a resurrection in the literal sense. Malkadar will not be returned to his mortal form. Instead, he will continue to serve the Order as a revenant. Can I count on you to retrieve what's left of him? I will recover the remains. Okay, so in here you can kind of see that they have some stuff. Again, cold damage. Plus 18% elemental damage ain't bad. 10% physical converted elemental is kind of for us. Used in all weapons, shields, and caster offhands. Okay. Like, you can see that they kind of have some cool stuff. We're not really going to go into the faction side of things because that takes a lot of grinding, and I'm not really interested in grinding. You know, I'm just being real here. I'm not really interested in doing a ton of grinding, and I don't think you want to see that, and I would feel weird just doing something off camera, right? I mean, I would probably still record it and then figure out a way to speed it up. It would take me learning another editing tool thingy, but yeah, I mean, maybe I would do that, but it's like, do you really want to watch that? And I'd have to probably do commentary in post. What the heck? I accidentally hit the right thumbstick. Which, if you look at the bottom, that like switches to a different set of skills. Anyway, so we've got some quests for this area, and we're definitely going to go ahead and make a bit of a foray in here, and then cut this episode shortly after. Now, the Blood Grove is an area that this is sort of getting into the part of the game where you get more side quests than you have to deal with. Why am I not hitting that guy? Ah, my ear. Oh, see, that's another thing, is that these guys will have, like, stuff pop out of them when they die. Kind of like the wisps, like the ethereal whites, wisps, whatever, like popping out of some of the ethereal enemies, except these have those, like, I forget what they're called, but they have those weird, ugly things pop out of them. Anyway, this is another side quest thing. Stay back, we've got ourselves a Taken to burn. What's going on here? We caught this Taken trying to cast some ethereal magic. Was probably planning on corrupting the whole area with her wicked aether fire. So we tied her up and figured we'd give her a little fire of our own. Only sure way to be rid of this taint. I wish to speak to the Taken first. Ralia. Here to gloat over Nathaniel's prize? Want to look me in the eye before you light the torch? I suppose it's a waste of breath to tell you that I am not a Taken. Then what are you? These farmers wouldn't know a Taken if it walked in on them fornicating with a goat. Well, lady, you're just a bundle of sunshine. Look, I may have dabbled in the arcane here and there, maybe cursed a few mongrels for getting too touchy, but I am not some ethereal's puppet. How do I know you're telling the truth? Ralia stares at you, her eyes piercing through. Perhaps you of all people should know better than to accuse people of being taken. I will talk to them. Speak to Nathaniel. Well, what are you waiting for? The Taken needs to burn. I'm not convinced she's taken. What do you mean? Just look at her. Ethereal if ever I saw one. We saw her casting wicked ethereal magic, there's no doubt. There's no proof. Ah, I see it now. She's bewitched you with her powers. You're just as good as a Taken. Boys, look like we've got ourselves another one. What? No, I forget it. So these guys are kind of, yeah, they're kind of tanky, but as you saw, we kind of went right through that. Anyway, she says, hate to admit, for a while there I thought I was as good as dead. Thank you for my freedom. How did Nathaniel get the best of me? They must have seen me working the cauldron, saw some aether glow, and jumped to their own crazy conclusions. They were on me before I could cast a single spell. I may have access to powers beyond most men, but I am no ethereal. Here, take this. It is a paltry gift, but the least I could offer my savior. I will not forget this kindness. Farewell. And we get Witch's Effigy. Plus 28% to all damage, but that's an offhand, and, well, two-handed weapons. Yeah. Well, anyway, let's continue going around the edges of the Blood Grove in this easterly direction. So we've got two little notes. Avalyn's note, page 1. Okay, and there you go. That's another, like, story of how they get people to join them. Yeah, okay. So there you go. Two different halves of the kind of people who join the Cult of Cthon. Which, as we'll, there's a thing that you get in Act 4 that I'll talk about whenever we get there, but it kind of, once we get that, I'll talk at length on the whole, like, Cult of Cthon and what their goals are and how that, I may have already, but I'll kind of go over something that I'm pretty sure I haven't gone over yet in regards to them and their goals and like why it is that they work the way that they do. I mean, you basically got it from the description of Cthon from the Dead God constellation, but yeah, if you put it all together, it kind of paints a picture of how alien the goals are of the Cthon cult and Cthon as an entity. But it also explains some stuff like why these monsters are hopping out of those dudes. Right? So here you can see that we're actually fighting Kaiman's Chosen. And they do actually pose a decent threat. Oh, there's another star. I guess I'll go over here and get that. Huh. Oh yeah, I can't get through here, alright. Now, here, in a minute, I'll teleport back. So here you can see, this is our boys, the Necromancer guys, holding down an area. Which, if you go through here quickly enough, you will see, like, the factions fighting each other. And you could even get involved in, like, tripartite conflict, where there are two factions fighting each other. Like, if you chose the Kaimans, you're going to be against the Necromancers, and vice versa. Where you can find, like, two factions fighting each other, and you yourself be the third faction that gets involved, kind of deal. It's kind of inconvenient, huh? Alright. I did kind of want to go around the edges until I realized, like, oh, the insignia quest is going to require us to go in the middle for a bit. Having some nasal issues. Hopefully I'll get that sorted out in the break. Ah, my ears. Now, as you can see, like, looking here, one of those little swarmer dudes does so much damage. So they have, like, an immense danger in letting them swarm you and letting them get their summons off and not really paying too much attention to what's going on. You can really get tore up real quickly fighting the Cult of Cthon. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen with the Ethereals, but at least personally, to me, it seems like I always have more like, oh crud moments with the Cthon cult than I do with the Ethereals. It just seems like they have a better, like as a faction, they have much more, like a much easier time at being incidentally threatening. Right? Like, that you'll just kind of be threatened by something without realizing it until it's almost too late. Than the Ethereals, where they don't really sneak up on you with their danger. They just kind of are a pretty... There's never, like, a spike in danger. You know about how much danger you're in at any given moment whenever you're going up against the Ethereals, kind of deal. Oh, and here, I think this might be the captured... No. I know that there's somewhere around here the captured... Oh, this guy is bad. He's another Inquisitor, except instead of the Ethereal Inquisitor, this is a Chthonic Inquisitor, which is nightmare stuff. Oh, goodness. I definitely didn't want to have to be dealing with him and other stuff. Okay, well. Okay, just preemptively heal, because he shreds health. Oh, man. This is going pretty bad pretty quickly. I don't know how far he's going to follow me, but... This is a dead end. Rather literally if he followed me back here, but thankfully it looks like he's not doing that. Now you see that thing behind him, that crystal that he summoned, those things do a ton of damage. So if you see those, you definitely don't want to be near them. They do a lot more damage than the ethereal equivalent. Alright, well, I'm going to run away. Holy, you saw just how much damage that guy did. I mean, honestly, I think that guy does too much damage, if we're being real. I feel like that guy legit does more damage than he needs to. Hopefully, we can ping him down. I didn't want to like try to end this video with getting rid of this guy, but I now kind of want to. I have no idea how you're supposed to take this guy on as a melee character, by the way. I'm not even sure you can. He just does too much damage. There we go. Excellent. Alright, with him taken out, and with us next to this portal, which is actually kind of important. Oh, and I guess I could just go ahead and get this. Wow, we've got a lot to cover whenever we get back in the next episode. But for now, get back into Homestead. And then cut the recording here, and I'll be back in a little bit. After we get in here. Alright. Be right back.